Ethan Mitchell wasn't a bad man. At least, that's what he told himself every morning while adjusting his tie in the mirror. He was a successful businessman, known in his circle as charming, generous, and endlessly confident. But beneath the tailored suits and perfect smile, he carried a secret, a relationship that didn't belong to him. One Friday evening, Ethan booked a suite at one of the city's most luxurious hotels. The golden lights glittered outside as he walked in, holding the hand of Claire, the woman he called his. Escape? She wasn't his wife. Emily, the woman who had stood by him for 15 years through struggles, sleepless nights, and sacrifices Ethan rarely acknowledged anymore. Claire was excitement, adrenaline, a distraction from the ordinary. The lobby smelled of fresh orchids and polished marble, and Ethan felt untouchable. He believed this was his world: money, status, secrecy. He handed his card to the receptionist with a smile that suggested he owned the place. But when the elevator doors slid open with a soft chime, Ethan's world shattered. Standing there in a navy blue business suit that looked sharper than anything he had ever worn was his wife, Emily. Her eyes, calm but unreadable, locked on his. For a second, time froze. The woman he thought was waiting at home was right here, in the very hotel where he thought he was safe, and then came the words that made his knees weak. "Welcome," she said softly, her voice steady, "to my hotel." Ethan blinked, unable to breathe. His wife, the same woman who used to juggle grocery coupons and part-time jobs just to keep them afloat, was now the owner. The mistress's hand slipped from his, as if even she felt the ground was no longer safe beneath them. Claire mumbled an excuse and disappeared, leaving Ethan standing like a guilty schoolboy caught red-handed. Emily didn't shout. She didn't create a scene. Instead, she gestured for him to follow. "Come," she said, walking toward her office. Ethan obeyed, silent, his throat dry. Inside, the office walls were lined with photos. Emily shaking hands with investors, cutting a ribbon at the grand opening, smiling with employees. A framed quote sat on her desk: "Rise not to show power, but to lift others." Ethan sank into a chair, staring. I don't understand. You never told me." Emily folded her arms. "You never asked." Her story unfolded like a wave he hadn't seen coming. Years ago, when Ethan was busy climbing the corporate ladder and ignoring her quiet dreams, Emily had been working in the background. She started small, helping a struggling local cafe, mentoring young entrepreneurs, reinvesting every cent she made. Her kindness and genuine heart drew people to her. Over time, with patience and grit, she built a network, grew businesses, and when the chance came to buy this hotel, a failing one, she took it. Now, it was thriving under her leadership. "You always thought success was about showing off," Emily said, her voice steady but full of emotion. "But to me, success was about creating something that helps people, something bigger than myself. And you never noticed because you were too busy looking elsewhere." Her words cut deeper than anger ever could. Ethan felt his chest tighten, not from being exposed, but from realizing how blind he had been. He remembered the nights Emily stayed up late scribbling ideas, the mornings she left early to meet someone, and how he had dismissed it all as trivial. For the first time, he truly saw her, not as the quiet wife he had taken for granted, but as a woman of strength, vision, and kindness. "I don't care about your mistakes tonight," Emily said finally. "What hurts is that you forgot who we were, who I was. I wasn't asking for luxury or distraction. I just wanted respect, Ethan. Respect and honesty." Ethan's throat burned. The shame was unbearable, but behind it grew something unexpected: awe. His wife had built an empire not from greed, but from compassion. She had succeeded not by tearing others down, but by lifting them up. And here he was, realizing too late that the most extraordinary person in his life had been beside him all along. "Emily," his voice cracked, "I don't deserve your kindness. But if you'll let me, I want to earn back your trust. Not with gifts, not with words, but by changing." Emily studied him for a long moment. Then, to his surprise, she smiled, not with bitterness, but with the same warmth she had always carried. "Change isn't about proving something to me, Ethan. It's about proving it to yourself. If you want to stay in my life, show me through actions. Be the man I always believed you could be." That night, Ethan walked out of the hotel alone, but not empty. For the first time in years, he felt the weight of truth pressing on him, and the hope of redemption pulling him forward. Weeks turned into months. Ethan ended his affair, stepped away from the shallow life he had built, and began showing up, not just for Emily, but for the people around him. He started volunteering at the very programs Emily supported, helping struggling workers find new opportunities. He listened more, spoke less, and learned humility the hard way. And Emily, she didn't forget the betrayal, but she watched his transformation. Slowly, cautiously, she opened the door of her heart again. Not because he begged, but because he proved day by day that he was learning what truly mattered. In the end, the story wasn't about betrayal or even about the luxury hotel. It was about the quiet power of kindness, resilience, and second chances. Because sometimes, the greatest success isn't owning wealth or status. It's rediscovering the humanity you almost lost. And Ethan, he would never forget that the most powerful woman he had ever met wasn't the mistress on his arm, but the wife who had always been there, leading with grace, compassion, and strength. This story reminds us that kindness and integrity outshine wealth and status. Love and respect, when nurtured, can rebuild even the most broken bonds. And true success is measured not in what we take, but in what we give.